Have you ever had a dream where you're trying to run, but your feet feel like they're stuck in cement? You're pumping your legs, you're giving it everything you've got, but you're just not moving? You wake up frustrated, maybe even a little sweaty. For a lot of us, that dream is our daily reality. Not literally, but intellectually. We spend our lives trying to run in a race that was designed for someone else. We look at the people society calls intelligent. The physicist on YouTube explaining quantum mechanics with fancy diagrams. The coder building the next big app. The kid in school who aced every test without even trying. And we think, wow, they're geniuses. I could never do that. Maybe you struggled in school. Maybe you were told you were slow or lazy, or that you just don't apply yourself. Maybe you were in the average set, the middle of the pack, the forgotten majority. Maybe you've spent your whole adult life believing that you're just not a thinker, that you're the doer, the emotional one, the hands-on one, but certainly not the smart one. If that resonates with you, if you've ever felt like an intellectual fraud compared to the geniuses of the world, I have a news flash for you that is going to absolutely flip your world upside down. You are intelligent. You are not just intelligent. You are a once in the history of the universe, uniquely wired, brilliant thinker. And the only reason you don't know it is because you've been reading the map upside down. We've been sold a lie. A slick, well-marketed, centuries-old lie. Society, the industrial education system, and even those pop psychology IQ tests have sold us a very narrow, very boring definition of what it means to be smart. They tell us intelligence is how fast you can solve an equation, how many vocabulary words you memorized, or how well you can recall historical dates. But today, over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to take that definition, crumple it up, and throw in the trash. We're going to explore the 7 different types of intelligence that prove the dumb jock might be a genius and the class clown might have a PhD in human nature. We're going to look at the science of neuroplasticity that proves your brain is more like a muscle than a machine. And by the end of this video, you're going to realize that you aren't just smart. You are a genius in your own specific, irreplaceable way. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. The smarts you're ignoring and the fish story. There's a quote, often attributed to Albert Einstein, and while historians debate whether he actually said it, the point is so perfect it doesn't really matter. It goes like this. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Let that image sit in your mind for a second. A fish with scales and gills, flopping helplessly against the bark of an oak tree, trying to get a grip with its fins. And some monkey in the branches above is yelling, "Come on, just grab that branch." It's easy. It's absurd, right? It's hilarious. But this is exactly what we do to human beings every single day. We put 6-year-olds in a classroom. We teach them a very specific set of skills, mostly memorization and logic puzzles, which is basically tree climbing. And then we spend the next 12 years ranking them, grading them, and telling them, this is intelligence. If you can't climb this tree, you're not smart. You're average. You're a fish. But what if your gift is swimming? What if your gift is navigating the dark depths of the ocean? What if your gift is feeling the vibrations of the water to know where the current flows? You've been stuck at the bottom of that tree, looking up at the monkeys and feeling worthless, while completely ignoring the fact that you have a whole ocean of potential inside you. I want to do a little experiment with you. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I don't want you to overthink them. I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. Question 1. Think about a social situation. A party, a family dinner, a meeting at work. Can you walk into a room full of strangers and within an hour have a pretty good read on the room? Do you know exactly who is friends with who? Can you sense who is in a bad mood, even if they're smiling? Do you instinctively know how to lighten the mood or when to give someone space? Do people come to you with their problems, not because you have the answers, but because being around you makes them feel heard? Question 2. Put down your phone for a second and look out a window. Or think about a park you know well. Can you look at a patch of ground and instinctively understand things about it? Do you notice how the plants grow towards the light? Can you guess where the water flows after a rainstorm? If you saw an animal track, would you be curious about what animal passed by and what it was doing? Do you have a knack for fixing things with your hands, for building, for cooking without a recipe? Question 3. Think about your own internal world. Are you deeply in tune with your own emotions? When you feel sad, angry, or joyful, do you know why? Do you spend time reflecting on your life, your fears, your dreams? Do you have a strong sense of your own values, your own moral compass, even if it goes against the crowd? If you answered yes to any of those questions, just one, I have news for you. Congratulations. You are displaying a form of intelligence that no multiple choice test, no IQ score, and no school report card can ever measure. You are not a fish trying to climb a tree. You just haven't found your ocean yet. Chapter 2. The Theory of Multiple Intelligences. Howard Gardner, Multiple Intelligences. This isn't just feel-good, New Age philosophy. This is backed by serious psychological research. In 1983, a psychologist named Howard Gardner at Harvard University looked at the history of humanity, looked at prodigies, looked at brain damage patients, and said, this tree-climbing test is nonsense. Human ability is far more diverse than that. He proposed the theory of multiple intelligences, and this theory changed the game. Gardner argued that intelligence isn't one single, monolithic thing you're born with, like a number stamped on your soul. It's a collection of different, semi-independent abilities. Think of it like a Swiss Army knife, not a single blade. You have a whole toolkit in your head. Let's break them down properly. And as we go through these, I want you to do more than just put a mental check mark. I want you to think about the people you know. I want you to think about yourself as a child, before school told you what to think. 1. Linguistic intelligence, word smart. This is the intelligence of poets, writers, storytellers, rappers, and lawyers. It's not just about having a big vocabulary. It's a sensitivity to the meaning of words, the order of words, the sound of words. If you love reading, if you find yourself playing with words in your head, if you can tell a story that captivates a room, if you're good at learning new languages, this is you. Think Shakespeare. Think Maya Angelou. Think your friend who always wins at Scrabble because they just see words where you see random letters. 2. Logical mathematical intelligence, number/reasoning smart. This is the classic smart, the one we put on a pedestal. Scientists, mathematicians, computer programmers, detectives. This is the ability to think in terms of cause and effect, to recognize patterns, to handle long chains of reasoning. If you love puzzles, if you're always asking why, if you think in a very structured, linear way, this is your lane. Think Albert Einstein. Think Sherlock Holmes. Think the friend who can calculate the tip in their head before the bill even arrives. 3. Musical intelligence, sound smart. This is a huge one that often gets overlooked. This isn't just playing an instrument. This is a deep sensitivity to rhythm, pitch, melody, and timbre. If music gives you chills, actual physical chills, that's your brain lighting up. If you can hear a song once and hum it back perfectly, if you tap your foot constantly, if you notice the background music in a movie and how it makes you feel, you are musically intelligent. Think Mozart, obviously, but also think of the person who makes the perfect playlist for a road trip. That's intelligence. 4. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, body smart. This is the intelligence of the entire body. Dancers, athletes, surgeons, craftspeople, mechanics, actors. This is the ability to use your body to solve problems or create things. It's about coordination, dexterity, and timing. If you learn best by doing, if you can't understand something until you build it with your hands, if you have good reflexes, if your body just knows how to move, your intelligence lives in your body. Think Michael Jordan. Think a master carpenter. Think your grandma, who can make the most amazing dumplings without measuring anything. Her hands remember. 5. Spatial intelligence, picture smart. This is the ability to think in 3 dimensions. Architects, artists, pilots, sailors, surgeons. It's the capacity to visualize the world accurately in your head and to transform those visual images. If you have a good sense of direction, if you can look at a pile of lumber and visualize the finished deck, if you can draw or paint, if you can look at a flat pack box from IKEA and know how to build it without reading the instructions, or maybe despite them, that's spatial intelligence. Think Leonardo da Vinci. Think Frank Gehry. Think the friend who never gets lost, even without Google Maps. 6. Interpersonal intelligence. People smart. This is huge. This is the intelligence of understanding other people. Teachers, therapists, salespeople, politicians, religious leaders, great coaches. It's the ability to read people's moods, motivations, and desires. To know what makes them tick. To work effectively with them. If you're the group therapist of your friend's circle, if you can de-escalate an argument, if you're good at negotiating, if you can walk into a job interview and instantly connect with the interviewer, you have sky-high interpersonal intelligence. Think Nelson Mandela. Think Oprah. Think the one person in your family who holds everyone together. 7. Intrapersonal intelligence. Self-smart. This is the intelligence of understanding yourself. Philosophers, psychologists, spiritual leaders, entrepreneurs. This is having an accurate picture of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams, and using that knowledge to navigate your life. It's self-awareness. It's emotional regulation. If you spend time in reflection, if you know what you need to be happy, if you're comfortable being alone with your thoughts, you have strong intrapersonal intelligence. Think Socrates, know thyself. Think the friend who seems unshakable, who knows their own mind. Look at that list. Look at the sheer variety of human genius on display. If you judged a fish by its tree-climbing ability, logical mathematical, you miss that the fish has bodily kinesthetic genius for swimming, spatial genius for navigating the ocean, and interpersonal genius for working in a school of thousands of other fish without bumping into them. Your intelligence, your genius, is likely hiding in plain sight in one of these 6 other categories. You've just been too busy for 20, 30, 40 years trying to climb the tree to notice the ocean that's been waiting for you to dive in. Chapter 3. Historical Misfits. Examples of non-traditional genius. And don't just take my word for it. Let's look at history. The people we now call geniuses, half of them were considered misfits or failures by the standards of their time. Albert Einstein, the poster boy for genius. You know what he was like as a kid? He didn't speak fluently until age 9. His teachers said he would never amount to anything. He failed his first entrance exam to college. He wasn't a linguistic genius. He wasn't a social butterfly. His brain was wired for spatial and logical thinking in a way that the rigid school system of 19th century Germany couldn't recognize. They saw a fish trying to climb a tree and called him stupid. We now know he was exploring an ocean of physics no one else could even see. Thomas Edison. He was told by his teachers he was too stupid to learn anything. He was homeschooled by his mother. His genius wasn't in the classroom. It was bodily kinesthetic and spatial. He had to build things, tinker, fail 1,000 times. That persistence, that physical relationship with problem solving, was his intelligence. Or consider someone like Maya Angelou. Her genius was interpersonal and linguistic. She didn't invent a light bulb or discover a theory of relativity, but she understood the human soul. She could take the pain and joy of the human experience and weave it into words that made millions of people feel seen and understood. Is that not a form of brilliance? What about your grandmother who never went to college but could grow the most beautiful vegetable garden? That's naturalist intelligence. An 8th type, Gardner later added. She understood the language of soil, sun, and water. She could look at a wilting plant and know exactly what it needed. That is a form of knowledge that is ancient, vital, and deeply intelligent. These people weren't smart despite their differences. They were smart because of them. Their unique wiring was the source of their genius. And the same is true for you. Chapter 4. The Science. Your brain is a jungle. Neuroplasticity deep dive. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, maybe I have a knack for people or for music or for fixing things. But I'm not a genius. I'm not a prodigy. I'm in my 30s or my 50s or my 70s. I can't learn new things like I used to. My brain is set in its ways. Stop right there. Put that thought in a little box and put on the shelf. Because this is the most important, most empowering part of the entire video. For centuries, we thought the brain was fixed. You were born with a certain number of brain cells, and from that point on, it was a slow, sad decline. You lost about 1 million neurons a day, and that was that. Your hardware was set at the factory. But neuroscience in the last 30 years has completely, utterly, and beautifully proven that wrong. It's called neuroplasticity. Neuro for brain. Plasticity for changeable, malleable, flexible. Your brain is not a computer made of metal and silicon that is hardwired at the factory and slowly rusts. Your brain is a living, breathing, dynamic jungle. Or think of it as a muscle, but even more adaptable than that. Every time you have a thought, electrical impulses fire between neurons. Every time you learn something new, every time you practice a skill, every time you struggle, fail, and try again, your brain physically changes. It grows new connections. It strengthens existing ones. It can even reroute functions around damaged areas. Think of it like a path in a dense forest. The first time you walk through, it's hard. You get scratched by branches. You have to push aside ferns. It's barely a trail. But if you walk that path every single day, it becomes clearer. The ferns get trampled. The ground gets packed down. Eventually, it becomes a clear trail. Then a dirt road. Then, if enough people walk it, a highway. When you practice a skill, whether it's playing the guitar, learning to cook, understanding your own emotions, or being a better listener, you are paving a highway in your brain. The thought travels faster, easier, more efficiently. The term gifted is misleading. It implies a gift was given, like a wrapped present on Christmas morning. You either got it or you didn't. But the greatest geniuses in history weren't just gifted. They were obsessed. They practiced for 10,000 hours. They failed more times than you've even tried, and their brains adapted to that obsession. You have a brain capable of adapting to any challenge you throw at it. The only thing standing between you and the genius version of yourself, the only barrier, is the deeply ingrained, false belief that you can't change. Chapter 5. The Crystallized and Fluid Intelligence Hack, the Wisdom Trade. There's another piece of this puzzle that is incredibly freeing, especially if you're a little further along in life. Psychologists talk about two distinct types of intelligence: fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Let's break this down because it's a total game changer. Fluid intelligence is your ability to solve novel problems, recognize patterns, and use logic in new situations. It's your raw processing power. It's the quick thinking intelligence. It's how fast you can learn a new app or solve a puzzle you've never seen before. This type of intelligence tends to peak in young adulthood and early 20s. It's the race car. Crystallized intelligence is the accumulation of facts, knowledge, skills, and experience over a lifetime. It's everything you've learned. It's wisdom. It's knowing how the world works because you've lived in it for 40 or 50 years. It's knowing how people react. It's having perspective. It's the ability to say, I've seen something like this before, and here's how it played out. If you're watching this and you feel like you aren't as sharp as you used to be, that your brain is slower, that you can't remember names as quickly, you're right. Your fluid intelligence might be slowing down. The race car doesn't have quite the same top speed. But look at the trade-off. Your crystallized intelligence is growing every single day. It is compounding like interest in a bank account. That means your ability to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas, to understand the subtext in a conversation, to have perspective on a crisis, to be patient, to be wise, it's actually stronger now than it was when you were 20. You are trading the speed of a race car for the wisdom of a captain of a ship. And which would you rather have in a storm? The race car, which might be faster on a clear track, is useless in a hurricane. The captain, with their crystallized knowledge of the sea, knows how to navigate the waves. You aren't getting dumber. You're getting wiser. You're trading horsepower for cargo capacity. You are trading sprinting for sailing. Chapter 6. The Practical Application, Finding Your Ocean. Okay, so we've established the theory. We've looked at the science. We've looked at history. Now comes the hard part. The so what? How do you actually find your ocean? How do you stop measuring your fish self by your tree climbing ability? It starts with a process of unlearning and rediscovery. It's like cleaning the dust off a mirror to see who's actually standing there. Here are 3 practical steps you can take, starting today. Step 1. The childhood audit. Think back, way back, before grades mattered, before you cared what the cool kids thought, Before you decided you were bad at math or not creative. Think about age 7, 8, 9, 10. What did you love to do? Not what were you good at, but what did you love? Did you love building forts? Bodily kinesthetic / spatial. Did you love organizing your toys into elaborate stories with your friends? Interpersonal / linguistic. Did you love being alone in your room, reading or drawing? Intrapersonal / spatial. Did you love taking apart old radios or toys to see how they worked? Logical mathematical. Did you love listening to records or the radio, totally lost in the music? Musical. That child is still inside you, and that child knew exactly what their intelligence was. Society just told them to shut up and do their homework. Step 2, the energy audit. For the next week, pay attention to your energy. Not your time, your energy. What activities make you lose track of time? What makes you feel alive and energized rather than drained? If you spend 3 hours helping a friend work through a problem and you feel great afterward, that's a clue pointing to interpersonal intelligence. If you spend an afternoon in the garden and feel refreshed and centered, that's a clue. If you spend hours learning a new song on the guitar and suddenly it's dark outside, that's your musical intelligence screaming for attention. Step 3, the jealousy test. This is a weird one, but it works. Who are you jealous of? Not in a nasty way, but in a I wish I could do that way. When you scroll through social media and see a painter, a carpenter, a speaker, a therapist, a chef, who makes you feel that little pang of, man, I wish that was me. That jealousy is often just your own intelligence, your own potential reflected back at you. It's your brain pointing at the ocean and saying, look, water, we could swim there. Chapter 7, the quiet genius. So let's bring this home. Let's tie all the threads together. We have spent the last hour dismantling the myth of a single, narrow intelligence. We have built a new model in its place. You are intelligent. You just aren't giving yourself credit for it because you've been looking in the wrong mirror. Maybe you're the person who can walk into any room, any tense situation, any family drama, and make people feel safe and at ease. You know the right joke, the right nod, the right moment to listen. That is not just being nice. That is interpersonal intelligence. That is a superpower. That is what holds communities together. Maybe you're the person who can take a pile of scrap wood or broken furniture or raw ingredients and turn them into something beautiful and functional. Your hands have a knowledge that your conscious mind can't even articulate. That is spatial and bodily kinesthetic. That is the intelligence of a creator. Maybe you're the person who has navigated a difficult life, loss, hardship, failure, and you're still here. You've learned from it. You've grown from it. You have a quiet strength and a deep understanding of yourself. That is intrapersonal intelligence. That is resilience. That is wisdom. That is arguably the highest and most difficult form of smart there is. Because what good is solving a math problem if you can't solve the problem of your own suffering? Stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides. Stop trying to run when you were born to swim. The world doesn't need another monkey climbing a tree. The world needs the fish to explore the deep, the bird to soar in the sky, the mole to dig in the earth. You have a unique constellation of talents, experiences, memories, and neural pathways that have never existed before in the history of the 4.5 billion-year-old planet, and they will never exist again in the entire future of the universe. That is intelligence. It is not a score. It is not a grade. It is not a comparison. It is the unique way your consciousness interacts with the world. You are intelligent. You've always been. You just didn't know it. But now you do. The question isn't, am I smart? The question is, in what way am I smart? And how am I going to use it? If this video resonated with you, if it lifted a weight off your shoulders, or if it just made you think a little differently about yourself, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps the algorithm show this video to someone else who might need to hear it today. And I want to hear from you. The comment section is my favorite part of this job. Tell me, which of the 7 intelligences is your superpower? When did you first realize it? Or are you just realizing it now? Let's have a conversation down there. If you're new here and you like content that makes you think, feel, and grow, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. We're just getting started. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's an honor. Now go out there, find your ocean, and swim.